Почитувани
Distinguished members of the press, good day and welcome at today's press conference on the official visit of Madam Kristina Gerasimov, the Deputy Prime Minister on European Affairs, and the Deputy Prime Minister on European Affairs, Mr. Bojan Marichikj. At this press conference, we'll hear both from Deputy Prime Minister Gerasimov and Deputy Prime Minister Marichikj, and then we'll hear questions from the media 1+1. Now I invite the first Deputy Prime Minister of the government to address us. Thank you. Distinguished colleague Kristina Gerasimov, Deputy Prime Minister on European Affairs of the Republic of Moldova. It is my great honor that today you're paying a visit to the Republic of North Macedonia. We share with your country mutual values that determine our cooperation, our present and our future, of course. At this current moment, we are strongly connected with the shared determination to complete as soon as possible the negotiation process for membership into the EU. And since the EU summit in Spain last year, we had the objective determined that the next enlargement of the EU may be positioned by 2030. And since the European Council adopted the decision to open the accession negotiations with Moldova and Ukraine, North Macedonia and Moldova have a shared objective. In this way, we become strategic allies and we nurture this unity and want to further develop it. The Republic of Moldova is now starting the screening process that we successfully completed in December last year. And this successful screening comes as a result of the engagement of almost 1,000 representatives of the government and the institutions, experts from the academic and scientific sector, and we were commended by the President of the European Commission. And I told my colleague Gerasimov that North Macedonia will put on our disposal the experience and know-how from this process to our friends from Moldova, just as we received support from Croatia and Slovenia and Montenegro in the process. This is an expression of solidarity, friendly solidarity, and that is how we will nurture it into support and European values. Both countries, North Macedonia and Moldova, are serious pretenders for members during the next enlargement of the European Union. This enlargement will enhance the strategic and security aspects which are endangered by the Russian aggression over Ukraine. We are also aware that we must meet the objectives and standards and criteria, and we see this process as a mechanism for better system, better rule of law, reinforced judiciary, guaranteed economic development. Each country separately, with its specifics and performances, is invited to achieve these European standards. But sharing our experiences on the path is of exceptional importance and is always welcome. Also, we have serious intentions and we are ready to use the benefits of the growth plan, which has been defined and it is being worked on in Moldova. And this should bring better dynamics for the candidate countries. Created as a financial and political investment in the region, the growth plan, with its 6 billion euros for the Western Balkans, is a hand given for the process of negotiations for this region by 2030. It is an acceleration of the Euro integration process. The growth plan requires reforms both from the countries and the governments, and the benefits are in the systemic changes that we provide through these reforms. In the financial packages for the country, the economic integration of the single European market, and the opportunities for mobility and development. We must remain committed to the European reform agenda because that is the only way through the growth plan and the negotiation process that we can secure free movement of goods, people and services, alleviation of the road transport, integration in the industrial supply chains, integration and decarbonization of the energy markets, as well as in the digital single market. On this path to the EU membership, all countries that are in the process of negotiations or candidate countries are facing challenges and need responsible decisions. North Macedonia is facing such a challenge at this moment. We should not give up the further steps that are required to accelerate our European path so that we can continue the negotiations and complete them within a realistic deadline. With my colleague Gerasimov, we agreed that Euro integration is a very important objective and we should not surrender before the challenges, and to both countries, EU membership is a priority in the accomplishment of the top national interests, both for the countries and for the citizens. Thank you. Thank you, Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister. Now we'll hear from Deputy Prime Minister of the Republic of Moldova, Her Excellency Kristina Gerasimov. Welcome, Deputy Prime Minister, and take the floor.
Dear Deputy Prime Minister Marichikj, dear Bojan, Your Excellencies, it is a pleasure to be here today in Skopje, and thank you very much for the very warm welcome to the Republic of North Macedonia. I'm glad that we had the opportunity today to kick off what I'm sure is going to be the fundamentals and the basics of a very productive dialogue for Moldova and for the Republic of North Macedonia on European affairs as we move forward towards achieving our national objective, which is integration and accession to the European Union. We share the same strategic goal to become full members of the EU and the same fundamental values. A strong commitment to freedom, a strong commitment to security, strong commitment to democracy, the rule of law, and of course to peace. This is because the EU is first and foremost a project of peace and prosperity for all European citizens. We stand with Ukraine as long as it takes, as it continues to face Russia's brutal and unjustified war of aggression. Allow me to underscore here that the Republic of Moldova strongly supports a merit-based enlargement process. At the same time, it is my very firm belief that is the destiny of democracies, both in the eastern neighborhood of the EU as well as in the Western Balkans, to one day become members of the European family. This is the only way to ensure that the aspirations of our citizens for a prosperous future can be achieved. It is our firm belief that we are stronger together, that we're very interested to continue exchanging views and best practices as accession talks progress. And in token of the Republic of North Macedonia's valuable experience, I assured my colleague Deputy Prime Minister Marichikj that we are keen to gain further insights into how your public administration, your society at large, has been managing the complex task of transposing the EU acquis, of implementing European standards, and of course designing reforms that are meant to bring us closer to the standards of living in the EU. We're also very happy to share from our experience so far how we have structured our internal coordination processes since the beginning of this year, in particular after the European Council took the decision to open accession talks with Moldova last December. I also avail myself of the opportunity to express my gratitude to the support of the Republic of North Macedonia ever since the Republic of Moldova embarked on this path towards EU membership. I'm very thankful for the chance that we had to have productive discussions both in Brussels with colleagues from Skopje. Our today's meeting is also an important continuation in enhancing our political dialogue and sectorial cooperation. Last year in Athens, our President, Maia Sandu, had the chance to meet and exchange views and opinions with former Prime Minister Dimitar Kovacevski. This followed our Prime Minister's meeting with your Prime Minister during the European Political Community meeting in June in Moldova that we held. And I think this is all very good basics for advancing our bilateral cooperation agenda. I would also like to mention our good cooperation last year in the context of the Republic of North Macedonia's presidency of the OSCE, as well as our continued cooperation in the framework of the Southeast European cooperation process. As we can see, there is an excellent momentum in our relations, and I'm sure that deepening our bilateral ties on EU accession-related matters will be one of the key aspects of our future cooperation. As we also aim to boost people-to-people contacts, discussions between our civil societies, our private sectors, our business communities, or the academia on joint future in the EU would be most welcome, thus generating more synergies with governmental efforts towards furthering our European agenda. Once again, I would like to thank you very much, dear Bojan, for your very warm welcome today in Skopje, for your hospitality, and I look forward to our further cooperation between our two countries.
Thank you, Madam Gerasimov. Благодарам.
Distinguished journalists, now you may ask questions. 1+1, please. Violeta from MIA. To our guest, if I may. What are the areas where Moldova will face the greatest challenges regarding the European agenda for the country? Maybe the political criteria or possibly the relations with the neighbors, since Macedonia is a special example in that context. And to Mr. Marichikj, one question, if I may. Can you give us a comment regarding the European agenda of the country in the context of the results of the first round of the presidential elections? Thank you. The guest will go first.
For your question, in terms of the most difficult challenges that our country will most probably face, are several chapters of the EU acquis that require a lot of cost of adoption of the acquis to our national legislation. That is, of course, the environment, that is agriculture, and of course justice sector reform. You probably know Moldova has embarked on a very complex justice sector reform where we are currently in the process of vetting both the prosecutors and the judges, hoping to clean up the system of vested interests that were part of our government for many years in the past. We very much hope that this will put the basics of a strong rule of law as a future member of the EU.
Thank you. Благодарам.
Thank you for your question. First of all, I would like to say that we accept the results as such, and we understand them as a very serious message for the view of the citizens towards SDSM. As a party, we've been in similar circumstances, and we've always found a way how to consolidate and how to continue and how to stand up and rise next to the citizens and the supporters. We have been doing this since yesterday. Our social, political, and civil obligation is to continue our fight, and as of yesterday, we are in our headquarters on the lowest levels, on field, in our organizations with our supporters. We will continue today with the activities, door-to-door activities and discussion with our members, sincere talks. We are aware of all the disappointments of the citizens related to the European integration as well, and to the fact that on several items EU was not righteous towards us, and regarding the behavior of our largest coalition partner. We have accepted that as a remark, and the fight against crime and corruption, and everything that the citizens find it as not a job well done. But it is clear that on the 8th of May, we will need to have a stronger citizen than what we saw in the first round, because without it, Macedonia is threatened with a populist and nationalist attack, and we do not know where this may lead us. We had an opportunity to feel that for 11 years, and in the past 7 years of this government coalition, we had the opportunity to achieve a lot, to make some errors, but what is clear is that Sadasama and our management, our membership, is not fighting to remain in power, whatever it takes, but we are fighting for the principles and the policies that we believe in and that we will not give up on. We are fighting for a strong political party that will remain, will continue to be the foundation of democracy, freedom, social policies, social justice, in which we invested a lot for the past years, with the salaries, with the crisis, and everything we've been through in the past 4 years, and with the direction in which we are leading the country. We will remain with these policies, of course, through discussions with the citizens, and I'm convinced that through this sincere communication, if we succeed to determine the policies that caused us damage, I'm sure that we will be able to tackle this, and I strongly believe that on the 8th of May we will achieve the result that will make Sadasama proud in this context. And I will say again, a lot of work stands before us after the 8th of May, both as party and an institution, and with regard to the European integrations. In this campaign, we see that ВМРО ДПМН avoids discussing the European integrations. There is a nationalist rhetorics, and unfortunately, this was accepted by the Democratic Union and Integration. It was initiated by them, but the citizens will not be happy with this rhetoric. What may happen is that we can find ourselves in a difficult situation after the elections. And I'm convinced that for the rest of the campaign, we'll reach each of our citizens, each of our supporter, so that we can convince them that the stronger Sadasama is, after this first round, the better for the country, with the clear assurance that none of the major mistakes for which we are politically sanctioned will not be repeated in future. And we will work to overcome them. It is not an easy task, an easy process, but I think that most of the citizens know that that Sadasama is the political force that may continue this story and will continue this process, and the story for European Macedonia, the story that we are on the right path, and that we should negotiate in the next 4 years with the European Union and not with Bulgaria. If there are questions, yes. First of all, Mr. Marichikj, several questions. Regarding DUI, you mentioned DUI on several occasions in negative context. Do you exclude the opportunity of making a coalition with them as a party? And another important question, today you had a deadline for harmonization of the reform agenda related to the growth plan 2024-2027. When will you send that? When can we accept the first tranche from Brussels? And very briefly to our guest, how much the Russian influence in your country plays role in the Euro integration process of Moldova? no one can tell you now for future coalitions, not even Vomaro Dopamane can say something about this, but what I can tell you for sure is that if you're building a European front, if you show the will to build a European bloc, and you base that on our impact against the Russian impact or NATO impact against the Russian impact, then you cannot steer nationalism. It will not bring good for anyone. Our agenda is not a nationalist one. Our agenda is for European Macedonia, for all citizens, the Macedonians, the Albanians, the Turks, the Serbs, the Vlachs, the Bosniaks, everyone in this country. And the divisions, the tensions, we were convinced that they're part of the past. And we want them to be part of the past. And every political factor must take into consideration the feelings of the citizens. We, as SDSM, will insist always on respect of the Macedonian language and identity. We did that. We will continue doing it. Respect for the equality of all ethnic communities in the country. And this is the concept that always took this country out of the crisis. We've seen such divisions in the past between the same actors, and it always damaged the citizens. And that is why I'm convinced that if we want to build a European bloc of parties, then we will need to commit ourselves to the reforms, to the mistakes that everyone has. Unfortunately, Vomaro Dopamane did not find the strength to apologize. We have a direct broadcast of part of the people in the prisons who can't wait to be free after the second round. Tomorrow it's April the 27th, the day when 7 years ago we had the attack over our assembly, and we never saw an apology from Vomaro Dopamane for that. On the contrary, if you see their events today, you will see Stavrovski, Yankulovska, Pešovski, everyone from the government of Nikola Gruevski. And this is not promising. It does not promise anything positive. So without reflecting on any coalitions in future, I can tell you about the platform of SDSM, and that is respect for all citizens, respect for the dignity of the Macedonian people, and respect for the majority of the citizens. The second question about the growth plan? Yes, this is harmonized. The deadline was 26th of April. We sent the materials, the reform plan. Today we'll have consultations with the civil society. And by the end of this month, we will deliver the final draft as adopted by the government. We will be within the deadline 2024-2027, because on the contrary, if we wait for the post-election calculations, then we'll be very late and all the other countries will have it adopted. I told publicly that we communicated the opposition in the assembly on this matter, and there is understanding that we'll continue with this process no matter the caretaker government. The first tranche, we had a briefing with the media last week, and we clearly said what the dynamics will be. It does not depend on us only, but in September we'll have the first 7% as foreseen for North Macedonia. Deputy Prime Minister Gerasimov.
The Russian Federation's propaganda and disinformation regarding our European future is strong. It especially uses social media to dissipate and to distribute messages of fear, messages of uncertainty about our security as a state, about our peace within the Republic of Moldova. At the same time, this is nothing new. We have seen these messages and these narratives in the past. However, they're not going to manage to steer our European agenda. This is because the citizens of the Republic of Moldova know that the European Union is a project of peace. It's a space where there is strong respect for human rights, for democracy, for the rule of law, and these are the values that each citizen of our country shares.
Thank you. Ви благодарам,
Thank you, everyone. Dear members of the press, this would be the end of our press conference. Thank you for your presence.